And Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Derek Duke.
Good morning, Statesboro. Please join me in prayer. Our most dear Heavenly Father, as we gather together, unified as a city and its government, we ask thy blessings upon us and this community we are blessed to live in. We thank you for all your grace and mercy that you show each one of us, the beauty of the fall days that we're enjoying, and the blessed rain. Please have great measure upon us as we enact business with the people of Statesboro. We ask thy guidance and direction. We pray all things in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will move down to agenda item 3, which is recognition of public presentations. Lee,
There.
any public comments?
No, Mayor.
I will move down to agenda item 5, consideration of a motion to approve the consent agenda, which is approval of minutes for our 10-15 mayor and council work session minutes, council minutes, and executive session minutes. Area B is a consideration of motion to dispose surplus equipment in accordance with the city's purchasing policy, section 3, vehicle and equipment surplus and disposal. And item C is a consideration of a motion to approve application for section 6-17D exemptions to open container prohibition for Eagle Creek Brewing Company located at 106 Savannah Avenue, Suite B, for 11/9/19, 8 p.m. until 11 p.m. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We'll move down to agenda item 6, which is a public hearing and first reading of proposed ordinance 2019-11, an ordinance amending section 1506F of Article 15, Appendix A of the Statesboro Code of Ordinance regarding illuminated signs in the downtown district. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Kane, if you will.
Mayor and Council, y'all had asked me on the previous meeting to draft a revision of section 1506F regarding illumination of signs in the central business district, District 4. So this one, the ordinance as it stands says that internal illumination of signs in the central business district of Statesboro is prohibited. What the amendment before you today does is allow for certain types of illumination to be permitted within the central business district. And those are the externally illuminated signs, so they have to have their concealed wiring and controls shall be shielded from and screened external light sources. About the internally illuminated must completely shield the source of light. That no illumination devices shall be placed, filtered, shielded, so that they'll be cast into the eyes of drivers or pedestrians. That the light shall not cast directly onto adjacent properties or roadways. That they'll have certain commercial ratings through UL listings. And under state law, certain red, green, and yellow illuminated signs are not permitted within 100 yards of the traffic light. And that the downtown and that the PSDA shall be notified of any application made pursuant to subsection and shall be granted the opportunity to comment as to permit issuance. So this is based on other jurisdictions, what they've done with illuminated signs within their downtown district, and so this is for y'all to see for first reading today.
All right, thank you, Kane. Is there anyone here to speak for? Anyone here to speak against? Okay, is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, is there any discussion by council?
Just wanted to check with our DSDA executive director, any issues? Thumbs up?
All right, if there's no further discussion by council, we got the thumbs up from DSDA. Council, is there a motion to approve us moving forward for a second reading?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move down to agenda item 7, as agenda item 6 is passed. It's a public hearing, first reading of a proposed ordinance 2019-12, ordinance amending chapter 38 of the Statesboro Code of Ordinances, adding Article 7 and establishing the Community Redevelopment Incentive Program. Is there a motion to open the hearing? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, Kane, if you will.
Mayor and Council, this would be the addition of Article 7, Chapter 38, creating the Community Redevelopment Tax Incentive Program. Essentially, what this would do would be the identification of blighted real property within the city limits. Once the identification is made, then the property holder would then have municipal court proceedings to determine if in fact the real property is maintained in a blighted condition, and if it is, then what would happen is there would be an increase in the ad valorem taxes on the blighted property until the blight is remedied, and at that point there would be an abatement, whereas the property taxes would decrease based on how much investment was made in order to bring the property up to standard. One of the questions that was brought up on here was about having these lists go through y'all before, if there's a list of property made by the code compliance officer, that list would come before mayor and council for possible amendment, but it would require mayor and council approval in order to move forward. That would be on the ones where the inventory is made by the code compliance officer. If there's an individual sort of one, the way it's written now, that with the individual complaints, those do not go through mayor and council, but y'all can see in section 38-163 A1C that any individual request, actually I've got it so that any of them individual requests or surveys would come through mayor and council. Y'all can change that if y'all wish, or keep it the same, that any individual request or survey produced under the subsection shall be reviewed, amended as desired and approved at open meeting by mayor and council before any further action is taken. And the further action would be serving the property holder, property owner with the accusation of blight, and then before it would go to municipal court. Furthermore, there's the question of what the additional levy would be. As proposed today, the property taxes would increase by a factor of 7, which means that it would be an 8-fold, it would be a 7-fold increase, but in essence, 8-fold of what the current tax burden would be on those properties, and also that for every $25,000 spent, that the property owner would receive would get their property taxes cut in half for a year. But those numbers can be tweaked as y'all desire, if y'all will do, which is to bring this forward for second reading and consideration.
Okay. And so basically what you're saying is that it's, so if the property tax was $5 a year, they get hit with blight tax at $5 per ton to 40.
Would include, yes, the ultimate would be $40.
Okay, that's what it would be, $40.
So it'd be a $35 increase, 7-fold increase on it.
Okay. And we're gonna do points of information at this point in time. Councilman.
Kane, correct me if I'm wrong, 7 or the 8, as you referenced it, is a number that others have used successfully.
It is the number that's been used successfully. The actual constitutional provision, the Georgia constitutional provision that allows for this program, does not have any sort of guidance as to what the factor should be. It's just a factor to be applied. The typical that we've seen, though, is 7 seems to be what most jurisdictions have been going with.
Of course, the reference to the, with the homeowners or the landowner getting contacted, and given the time frame, like 30 days or 90 days to respond before we enact the taxes on, we give an opportunity to volunteer to repair the property before we tax them.
That's not in here that notice would be made. The notice that would be made would be that it has been determined to be blighted.
Mr. Jones, in this case, this will have been more than a year-long involvement. So it's not like it would come up tomorrow, we would implement it tomorrow. This would have been more than a year in the working. So they would have had plenty of notice before we got to a point that this tax would be implemented. And then the other part of the ordinance change that's outlined in red, y'all will have approved that list that we would be working on to implement that tax.
Mr. Penney, before you ask any more questions, pardon me, could you maybe just, for the public and for our benefit as well, kind of walk through how this, like the process of from code compliance all the way down to municipal order?
Was, as we went through it in more detail at the work session.
Sure.
A couple of weeks ago, and so there's some requirements that we have to have. First thing, before we can get to a place that we can implement the use of this light tax, we would have to, one, ramp up our code enforcement, and these would be for folks that were completely ignoring what we would ask them to do. Hopefully, by doing more aggressive code compliance, we will have more voluntary compliance. However, if they are habitual offenders of not just completely ignoring the situation, then what we would identify these properties, we would bring it to the council, and we all approve the list that we would utilize to try to implement that we would implement the blight tax. I think it's really important to say that we're not going to, this would not be used to try to displace people from their homes. It would be used for commercial property. We have huge commercial properties that are sitting there that have been vacant for a number of years. They have a number of code issues. We could use it on that. But it's not something that if you implemented this on the second reading, it would take a while. It would take probably a year to 15 months before we would even have the first one that would come to you. Because one, we have to make sure we have our ducks in order, and we're in the process of hiring code compliance officers. And once we get those folks in place, they have to develop a track record, because we have to be able to defend the action, because obviously we'll end up having to go before a judge or court to be able to implement the blight tax.
Mayor, council, there is a provision in here that states that the maintenance of the property, this is part of the determination of blight, that the maintenance of the property is below state, county, or municipal codes for at least 1 year after written notice of the code violation to the owner. So, Councilman Jones, there would be a year minimum before action would be taken between notice of the blighted condition to the owner and any production of the survey of the blighted property.
Well, and that's what I was getting at, so can you walk through that code compliance officer writes a ticket, right? That process, the whole, just walk through.
Yeah, that's how it would start, would be the notice of the code violation from the code compliance officer. And if then further action is not taken, then the list would be brought before council to move forward. And at that point, the individual property owners would be notified, and they would have an opportunity to go to municipal court before the determination of blight can be made and the imposition of the increased ad valorem taxes on the property.
All right, Kane, the $25,000 investment into the property, how do we get to that number?
That is an open number at this point, Mayor. Y'all can adjust that any way that you deem fit. That's just simply one that basically just see that as a blank number and y'all insert whatever. Because the fact is, a $25,000 investment to get maybe half off of property taxes is really not a great return on the investment.
All right, and then, I would like to see a difference between commercial property as far as the investment and residential property.
It's certainly easy to do your mayor. I'll say your honor, I'm being more too much. Or your honor.
Yeah, it should, and what I'm looking for is, and then I guess we still need to kind of discuss 25,000. I can understand 25,000 on commercial property. But on residential property, especially in neighborhoods that may be a little bit more challenged, that's, I mean, the property may not be for 25,000. So we need to look at that, and what I would like to do, if council, agrees, is to let staff kind of take a look at that, and then let us know what staff's recommendation.
I agree with you, because it may end up being more of a percentage more so than just a flat number, 25,000. But if we could have some time to research a little bit more and come back to you. It might also be helpful, to possibly, we talk with Savannah, and they've used this and see what kind of number, we're looking at the ordinance as well, and talk with the code officials, see what kind of number they use as well.
Would it be appropriate to consider some sort of sliding scale? I don't know how, or if that would be effective, just something to consider.
We'll look at all those and bring it back to you.
Mr. Penny, you just said you looked at Savannah because they just enacted this as reported by the Savannah News, and they in fact had their first case of enforcement of this down there. So obviously, if they've got a successful program, copying them is something, or patterning, doing it like they do it. Excuse me.
We try to learn from other folks' experiences, and they've actually had it in place about 4 years. So
Okay.
This was the first case that they've used?
No, they've used it, they've had it for a while.
Okay,
This is their first major commercial case.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Right.
And the 1%, it does follow Savannah's, but furthermore, Savannah's follows the GMA model ordinance on the blight tax. So this is certainly not a reinvention of the wheel here.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to kind of reiterate what you were saying, the same thing Councilman Young was saying. You said like 70% for 25,000. I just want to make sure we use what fits Statesboro.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
because LaGrange is using a particular number, that's right for them, might not be right for us. We don't want to,
Exactly.
we don't want to hurt anybody financially, but
Yeah,
we want to do what's fair
yeah.
and right for everybody. So just make sure what's right for us.
So, and we appreciate the courtesy for the points of privilege and points of information. We'll get back into the regular order. Kane, if there's no further information on that. Okay. Is there anyone here to speak for?
I think that the blight tax.
Please state your name.
Marcus Tool,
Who are you with?
Habitat for Humanity of Wood County. I think that the blight tax would be a benefit provided. We understand the potential for it to become a weapon of gentrification, and that we take very careful measures to make sure that happens. Sounds like y'all are doing a good job at doing that on the writing of this particular piece of legislation now. I think that the other end where we, if you view this as a tool of last resort, realizing we've just been accepted into the GITCH program, and for especially residential property owners who are low income, if we can put into place over the next 2 or 3 years means that empower those property owners to improve their properties without going bankrupt. So you kind of take this as a two-pronged thing. You have this punitive thing over here that you hope you never have to use. But you have these other measures that enable low-income property owners to take advantage and improve properties and maybe even improve their own income. I think this could be a positive thing. Another thing it potentially does is it helps Statesboro acquire an inventory of properties where you have space where you can actually build low-income housing. And that's in your possession so that you aren't having to spend a lot of money on acquiring such properties. One thing, though, to keep in mind, a punitive property tax only works if you are willing to own the property and all the liabilities that go with it. If you aren't willing to own the property, you know, there are plenty of property owners out here that don't pay their taxes and haven't for years, and they get away with it because there's no consequence of doing so. So if you aren't willing to own the property, then this is just another thing that's on the books that doesn't affect you. You have to be willing to own the property.
Thank you, Mark. Is there anyone else to speak for? Seeing that there is none, is there anyone here to speak against? Seeing that there is none, I'd like to offer a motion by one of the council members for closing the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any further discussion by council?
Mr. Penny, are you going, would it be appropriate for us to table this for one more meeting in order to allow staff to do a little bit more preparation? Or Kane, do you think, or I'm sorry, Mr. Penny, do you think it'd be appropriate just go ahead and pass the first reading and then make adjustments? You guys tell us what would be appropriate, and I'll make the appropriate motion.
Mr. Boyd and Mayor and Council, if we can wait one more meeting,
No problem.
we are scheduled for a work session, and give us a chance to do a little bit more research and maybe answer the questions that you raised. And then we could talk about it in the work session and have it on the agenda for the first reading on the 19th. If that's okay?
That'd be great.
Thank you.
And Mayor, if I want, just got a quick thing to say, and then I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
First off, I want to thank you personally for working together with me on this to move this ordinance forward in order to remediate some of these historically dilapidated and neglected properties we have in the city. Your idea to bring the list before the council so that we can ensure that the actions taken by us and taken by staff are transparent in the eyes of the general public is a great additional measure that satisfies the need to put this out there, and it also holds council accountable for taking actions on some of these properties. I certainly understand Habitat's concern about low income, but as I've said from the very beginning, this blight tax is not about attacking low income folks and low income residents. This is about focusing on the individuals that have properties that they're just sitting on and letting rot. And that being said, our city has invested a lot of money in infrastructure, as you know, in streets, fire and police equipment, personnel, and it's incumbent on us as a council to ensure that the property in the city is brought up to its highest and best use to take advantage of all those investments that we've made in our community. Personally, I'm happy to table this for one more meeting in order to get all our ducks in a row, but I would like to, at the same time, encourage staff to have this prepared by the next meeting, so that way, when we get our code enforcement officer in place, and once we get this blight tax finalized, both of those things we can start 2020 fresh with some new code enforcement officers, some new tools, and move the city forward. That being said, I will make a motion to table this for one more meeting.
Okay. Is there a second? So moved. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Let's show that the agenda item has been tabled for the next meeting pending a work session where staff will have opportunity to do research and get back to council in regards to that, in regards to their discovery. We'll move down to agenda item 8, which is consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2019-36, a resolution for the opening of the 2019 Community Development Block Grant Bank Account.
Mayor, members of the council, as you all are aware, we received $750,000 in CDBG funds, and as part of that requirement, we are required to establish a separate bank account for those 2019 funds. And so it's simply asking you, and I recommend to you that you approve the establishment of the bank account.
Is there a motion to, excuse me, any council discussion? Seeing that there's none, is there a motion to approve? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let it show that agenda item 8 is passed. We move down to agenda item 9, which is consideration of a motion to renew the health insurance contract with Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Mayor, members of the council, we do recommend that you approve the renewal of our health insurance with Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. There are, first, I think it's important to note that we are not recommending a rate increase for our employees, and so we're pleased with that. But what we do recommend is that we implement a new tier 4, and that is a tier for specialty drugs where the copay will be up to $100 for those specialty drugs. We also recommend that we add aggregate stop loss coverage. Right now, we do not have an aggregate stop loss coverage, so that means that if we had several catastrophic claims that came against our programs that were self-funded, we would just have to eat it. And with the aggregate stop loss coverage, when we reach a certain percentage, we have insurance that will kick in to cover that overage. And so we recommend that to you. And then we also recommend the increased cost for the medical administration. So based upon these recommendations, we recommend an additional premium with a cap of our maximum liability coverage at $3,058,448 for a total annual fixed cost of $3,971,195. I do recommend to you that the council approve the renewal. I think when we started this, it was for a 3-year contract, and so we recommend that we renew.
All right, thank you, Mr. Green. Is there any discussion by council?
What's that current cost? I didn't see it, I'm sorry, I didn't see that in.
I don't have the numbers in front of me. I know we're on track for about $800,000 in savings compared to total spend in 2018.
And Mr. Boyd, the reason this is here today, we need to do open enrollment. We will get you that information on the work session for the 19th. We will have a more detailed discussion. Jonathan will be here to provide detailed information about what our current cost is and what our savings are. So we'll get that information for you.
No problem, I was just trying to give you an opportunity to brag on yourself.
Well, we don't brag. Don't brag.
I knew there were some savings, I just wanted to hear it out loud.
Yeah, exactly. And we do want to thank you guys for the work that you're doing. For Statesboro, $800,000 is a good bit of money. So we definitely want to celebrate that. Is there any further discussion by council? Seeing that there's none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let's show that agenda item 9 is passed. We move down to agenda item 10, which is consideration of a motion to award a contract to Flip Equipment Company in the amount of $95,000 for one John Deere 301 SL H1 backhoe loader with funds approved as part of the 2020 capital improvement budget item WWD-76.
We recommended to you, Mayor, we were replacing the 2001 model. So we recommended you award the contract.
Okay, good deal. All right, council, any discussion?
Can I drive the new one?
Yeah,
I don't know if your license is driving.
Need to talk to our insurance guy.
Good deal. If there's no further discussion, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right, let's show agenda item 10 is passed. We move down to agenda item 11, which is consideration of a motion to award a source well contract to Alltech Industries for the purchase of an Alltech Model A35G bucket truck body with a 2020 Dodge 4500 cab and chassis. This one will be used in the street division of Public Works and Engineering Department in the amount of $108,919. This item will be purchased with funds from the 2018 T-Splosh.
Mr. Mayor, I recommend the approval of the bucket truck.
All right, any discussion by council?
Is it, do you have to have a CID license to ride in the cherry picker?
No, Johnny, you can use it as your deer stand.
Lord. Yeah.
He just wants to take pictures of it.
That's right, all I want to do is take pictures, I don't shoot them.
There you go.
Thank
Lord, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Let it show that agenda item 11 has passed. We'll move down to agenda item 12, which is other business by city council.
I have, something if anybody else has nothing first.
Now, to my understanding, you wanted to do that as a citizen.
I'd like to do both of them. I'd like to speak as a citizen and as a city council.
Well, you know what? We're gonna let you do it now.
Thank you, I appreciate that,
Yeah.
because they are in order of that first and then this here.
Okay.
Thank you very much for allowing me to do that.
And for the record, Ms. Leah, this is a point of privilege. I'm just messing with you.
Thank you very much. John Riggs, 106 Kensington Mews is my address. Good morning, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Mr. Penny. I speak to you now, not as a representative of District 4, but as a lifelong resident and citizen of my beloved city, Statesboro. Violent crime, murder, rape, armed robbery, armed home invasion, attempted murder, and aggravated assault have again reached yet another apex in our history, and it must be addressed now. As City Councilman for District 4, I will be bringing forth my initiative to combat this issue during council comments at the end of this meeting. Thank you for your time. John Connor Riggs. God bless the city of Statesboro, and God bless Lord County. And now, add something as city council. There we go. I'll put on my other hat. Good morning again. I'm starting my initiative to address the high level of violent crimes, murder, rape, armed home invasion, armed robbery, attempted murder, aggravated assault. I call this my initiative because I realize that today is election day, and I do not want to affect the election process. Don't want anyone to feel that they have to say yay or nay on what I'm bringing up. I believe that our police department needs X amount of new officers. I was asked not to give a figure because it would give our city manager a heart attack. I do believe that we do need more officers. We need more patrols. We need more, we just need more benevolent, highly trained, highly motivated police officers on the road. And I think that over the next 5 years, we can come up with a plan to do this. I feel that this is imperative to ensure the safety of every man, woman, and child who lives in, visits, goes to school in, or otherwise has any interest in our beautiful city. Part of this rationale is that I know of 3 potential students from out of town who are not going to this school because their parents told me personally that the main reason that they would not allow their children to come to school here is because of the level of violent crime. And this is a fact. I have been told this by 3 different families. I encourage any and everyone who believes in a safer Statesboro to contact me and let's begin the dialogue. I'm not putting any hard numbers on anything. I'm just saying that we've got to start talking about it today. We want to stop it.
Again, God bless our community. John Reed, City Councilman, District 4, City of Statesboro. Thank you.
Chief, you wanna give it W to y'all can talk?
But not yet, I haven't asked permission for Mr. Kenny to speak with anyone. That's why I wanted to say this first, and
Okay.
I will ask his permission to speak with, first of all, I'm gonna ask for his direction,
Okay.
and everyone else up here. We're pretty smart guys, and I think we can do something about it, so, I'm giving us all the opportunity to do so.
And I'll shoot them $5 to you after. Okay, so you gonna put together a strategic plan for over the next 5 years, to discuss how we're gonna reduce crime within the city. Then we also wanna discuss public perception of crime, within the city. And then we wanna look at the need for additional officers within the city. Is that what you want?
I would like to begin that initiative, yes, sir, all of that included.
Okay. All right, Mr. Green, any comment?
Mayor, members of the council, I appreciate Mr. Reed's point. We discussed this, and I just simply asked Mr. Reed that we look at, it's hard to look at one thing in isolation. And we have some other needs as well from a public safety standpoint that I want to have we need to have some very serious discussions about. But law enforcement is one of them, but there's also from the position of fire services as well. But recognizing that all of it dovetails more into the budget process, and this is a good time to start that conversation. And I look forward to being able to work with Mr. Reeves and the council to address the concern. We don't want people to perceive our city as not being safe, but we also want to be realistic from a financial standpoint as well. I will say that typically I'm used to in January, February, and since we use the work session to report to the council, have public safety reports from the police and fire, so that we can see what the stats say. And so even in looking at stats, we still have to deal with that issue of perception. And because in some cases, perception becomes reality if people say it enough. And so I look forward to having some more very good and engaged conversations about how we address all of those issues.
Mr. Mayor? And again, Gary, you, Council 5, District 5, and I live not far from Councilman Riggs. This is an issue that we've been addressing with new security measures, technology to assist our police force officers. We can always use more, but a lot of it, America's in a perception crisis from the national level down with antagonistic viewpoints. But I would like to add that, contrary to what Councilman Riggs said, my nephew, who is a senior level law enforcement officer in the Atlanta area, and in fact runs security for one of the country's richest families there in West Places Ferry Road, right across from the governor's mansion, is selected our school, Georgia Southern University, to send his beloved daughter to next fall, and she has been accepted and will be here. So I just want to add that. We have a real problem, like all of America, with crime, because none is acceptable. We'd like it zero. We want people to do right. But by the same token, what I feel like here in the biggest little city in America is that we have a perception problem. We talked about this in the past. And just coming from a leadership conference that Georgia Southern hosted, we had an outside, they have had an outside consultant on city development and leadership for the city. We've got a lot of very positive things going on in this community, headed up by the Blue Mile and the coming state park on South College. It's already funded for, paid for by a benevolent state. And the environmental studies out on that and coming, so that is proceeding. There's a joint group with city, county, and community leaders working on the Blue Creek Initiative. All good things for the rising tide of well-being in the city of Statesboro. So I really want to put that out before laying in Highway 67, making us a more easily accessed city for all those that care to come and use this as a regional shopping center, for a regional medical hospital that we have. And of course, Georgia Southern University, our #1 citizen in the community. So we have to address these things in a matter of perception and reality. So I support Councilman Riggs. We have discussed this on numerous occasions, living right side by side. We were separated by a long 9-iron shot. But it's something that, on behalf of the citizens of the city, we want them to understand that we have a very good and benevolent police force that does their job now. And we have new technology measures going in to add to that. So I'd like to support him in addressing this with all the comments understood. So thank you, Councilman Riggs, for bringing it up.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I think that, in Councilman Riggs, I think we all want to make sure that our city is as safe as possible. And like Councilman Duke said, any crime occurring is one crime too many. Every person should feel safe. But it is something that we do want to acknowledge, and Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know a study was recently done on comparable college towns, and Statesboro is actually the second safest city next to Boone, North Carolina. Am I correct on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I think that.
In the country, in the southeast?
Yes, in the Sun Belt.
In the Sun Belt.
Yeah, in the Sun Belt. And so what that means is that I think we're dealing with a huge perception problem, but nobody, if the crime has occurred to you, you don't want to hear perception, because it's a very real situation. And I definitely support what Councilman Riggs is saying, but if we're going to put together a strategic plan, it's going to have to go back to some things that I've mentioned in the past. The police department is not the end-all be-all for crime. If we're not addressing our young people within our community, then crime is going to occur. If we're not addressing poverty within our community, then crime is going to occur. We have to be willing to put skin in the game across all facets that contribute to the environment in which crime is present. And so that's fundamental. And what I would like to do is, if we partner to move this plan forward, is that we look comprehensively, incorporating, if we need additional force members on the force, we do that. If we need additional technologies in conjunction with what we already have, we do that. But I don't want to placate to the public and say, hey, look, we're trying to make you safer because we hired more police officers. I want to go to the public and say, we're looking at real solutions. And our real solutions are comprehensive. It addresses all of the factors that helps to create an environment where crime grows. So we have to be diligent and very serious about solutions. So, but I do appreciate your leadership, Mr. Riggs, and we're going to work to make this happen.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Couple more comments, if you don't mind. Just because 3 sets of parents told me that their children weren't coming here, that doesn't mean that I haven't spoken to umpteen sets of parents who said they are bringing their children back.
That's right.
And I thank and bless them all. And I have told them that we will protect their children when they get here. And I decided that they're coming. Also, I'd like to say about the PD, I don't know if I said it strongly enough, we have the most highly trained, highly motivated, benevolent, and well-equipped police department in the world. And I am super proud of them. I just think that we need more of them. And also, I would like to say that my initiative is not just solely based on getting more police officers. It includes housing. It includes property. It includes young people. It includes everything that you just mentioned. But this is not the police are not a catch-all.
Yeah.
All of it has to be addressed, and I'm willing to, do whatever it takes to make this city the safest that we can get. And I'm sorry to say this, I hate to come out and say this, but I don't care how safe Boone is.
Yeah,
I'm worried about us.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got things going on 800 yards away from my house that should not be happening. And I'm willing to work with any and everyone to have it fixed.
Boone wasn't safe.
There you go. I love it. Let's please talk about the best days I've seen since,
I was waking people up in the household. Absolutely. And thank you. Are there any further, is there any further business from council?
Just one more comment on that, and if we could, Mr. Penny, I realize we have a Sun Belt statistics, but would it be possible maybe to put some statistics together for the state of Georgia? The majority of our students that come to Georgia Southern are from the state of Georgia. And, you know, and areas that are very closely bordered with the state of Georgia. So having that same statistical analysis on all the schools that we have throughout the state might be also good for our public perception and getting the word out that, hey, Statesboro is pretty darn safe, pretty darn good place to live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right, good deal. All right, any further other business by council? Okay. I do wanna take this opportunity to pat staff on the back. This past weekend, we had a youth retreat, on the campus of Georgia Southern University, and it was phenomenal. And I wanna pat the staff on the back, for everything that they did to make that happen. And please know that the young people that were involved with that, they had a phenomenal time. Mr. Keith Brown is a phenomenal speaker, youth motivator, and I can't say enough for the impact that he had on those young people on that day, on that space and time. So I definitely want to pat the staff on the back for all of the work that you guys did to make that happen. We'll move down to agenda item 13, which is city manager's comments.
Mayor, members of the council, I just want to bring one item, and it's more of a calendar item. Since we're rapidly coming toward the end of the year, for planning purposes, and this will be my first December being here, we have 2 council meetings scheduled for the month of December. None of them occur close to the holidays, and so I just wanted to check in with y'all from a planning standpoint about what you normally do. At this point, we're proceeding, staff would be proceeding that we are going to have council meetings in December, unless you tell me something different.
It is fairly traditional to cancel the second one, but if you feel you need it for, you know,
Well,
to get some work done.
Well, we'll know we should know by the first meeting what it looks like, but I just wanted to get some direction from you.
I'm fine with it. So historically, we did not.
Historically, we don't have the second meeting in December yet.
We've never had one as long as I did.
Yeah, I mean, that goes way back.
But,
All right, this year we're gonna have a meeting. Nah, if that's what we've done historically, let's make plans to do so.
I would say let's wait and see.
Yeah, if you need it, we're available.
Anything we need?
Mayor, I don't want to,
No.
I don't know. It's just a long haul between that first meeting in December
And then
and then January, and if something comes up, it'd be easier to say we're not going to have it after we get into the December
That's
because
fine.
stuff is rolling.
Sure.
All right, good deal. All right, we move down to agenda item 14, public comments. Are there any public comments? No? All right.
Good luck in the election, guys.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody else is right.
All right.
Keep it clean.
Yeah, they
No,
keep
you
it
go with
clean, yep. All right, so public comments, we've done that. So move down to agenda item 15, which is consideration of a motion to enter into executive session to discuss personnel matters, real estate, and/or potential litigation in accordance with OCGA 50-14-3B. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Does any, if anyone needs signatures, you can come up now. All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a great day, State.
Looking good.